Among the people killed on the Halloween truck terrorist attack in New York City was a young man named Darren Drake. Well, his family is now suing the city of New York for $600 million because of his death. Now, one member of Congress, Josh Gottheimer from New Jersey, is also taking the opportunity to introduce new anti-terror legislation. He had an event today, and our own Mark Bonamo was there. Mark, what do you got?
Congressman, Democrat Josh Gottheimer of the 5th District here in Bergen County, New Jersey, proposed legislation to combat 21st century terrorism.
We need to adapt based on the tools today that lone wolf terrorists and others use to prevent future tragedies and protect us all from these threats.
In the name of Darren Drake, 32 years old, of New Milford, who was one of the many who died in the terrorist attack with a truck driving over many victims in Lower Manhattan on Halloween. What essentially the idea is that Jimmy and Barbara Drake, Darren Drake's parents, spoke emotionally today about the need to have this legislation in place to make sure that no further terrorist attacks of this nature take place again.
Nothing was put in place, absolutely nothing. And then unfortunately our son had to lose his life to get, this happening.
Mark, can I ask you honestly, I mean, this sounds like a Democrat in a right-leaning district. He won the seat from Scott Garrett in the last election. He's up for re-election. Sounds like a lot of grandstanding from a guy in the minority party. What is his legislation going to do that our government that has ISIS on the run globally isn't already doing?
His legislation is a reminder that whether you're a Democrat or Republican in the New York, New Jersey area, we have all been affected very adversely by terrorism following the, of course, tragic September 11, 2001 attacks, and ongoing. This needs to be in people's minds going forward, that no matter what party you are, to make sure that terrorism stays on the run as much as possible.
So does he want Homeland Security to do more? Is he asking for more money? Or is he just using this dead man's name to make a political point?
Essentially, he's trying to use the legislation to make sure that if someone tries to rent a van or a truck, that they are put into the database, the Terrorism Watch database, through the National Terrorism Watch List Center to make sure, essentially, this does not happen again.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. All right, let's bring in the A+ panel to break it down. Pop culture expert Lisa Durden is here, as well as Elora Nanos, who is a columnist for Long Crime and a trial attorney, and Democratic political strategist Bill Caruso. Bill, I'm going to start with you. Josh, he's your guy. He's on your side. I realize I'm being a little tough on him, but honestly, it sounds to me like a guy grandstanding for a re-election soundbite.
No, listen, you're right to be cynical. I think we always look at these through a cynical prism, but let me give you some good news on this stuff. First of all, most of these bills never become laws, right? All these members of Congress, there's 500 plus of them. These bills never become standalone laws.
Especially from the minority party.
Here's the beauty of this. This could become a rider to a larger piece of legislation, and it seems like it's rooted in some common sense. If we don't currently have a database that's checking these folks that are doing this and cross-referencing over these watch lists, I think it's a brilliant idea. It's probably not going to go as its own law, but elevating this to the level he's doing it makes sense. It makes good political sense, too. And I think doing it in the memory of this young man who's a big deal up in Bergen County, he was involved in the political process, this was his life, and I think it honors his memory, too. I don't have any problem with this. I think
so
it's a
smart politics may or may not save any future lives. What about the lawsuit? $600 million against the city.
Yeah, I agree with Bill that the legislation actually sounds like a very good idea. The lawsuit itself, to me, does not sound like a really viable lawsuit. That being said, my heart obviously goes out to this family. I wish there were a way to compensate them, but truly suing the city.
Well, what's the value of a human life if the city was down on the job?
Well, the issue is not the value of a human life, because that can't be quantified anyway. The issue here is who is at fault, and to blame anyone other than the terrorist himself is ridiculous and legally unsound.
Lisa, I'm not sure where you stand on this. I don't like the legislation. I think it is political posturing, and it's typical politicians using crises and death to get a soundbite. But the lawsuit.
I think it's, well, let me just go to the legislation. I think it's very much racial profiling. I rent U-Haul trucks. I don't want to go and rent a U-Haul truck and somebody's profiling me. First of all, that's problematic. Number two, I like the $600 million lawsuit because New York knew that they were having, not just this Drake guy's accidents, it's been happening for a long time. They needed to build barriers between the bike lanes and the streets. I have driven on the bike lanes Thank goodness I didn't kill anybody. I'm too cute for jail. But the point of it is that
Lisa, did
they
you
did.
and I- go ahead.
They did nothing. Now they have a $600 million lawsuit, and they're going to try to say that they don't want to pay that. It's not going to win in court. They're going to settle. They're going to have to settle.
And by the way, no profiling. You're going to check everybody. You're not going to say, well, you look like you
can't
might be.
profile me. You can't check. That's the
You're
point.
not.
You can't
Everybody that's going to rent a car now is going to go through a database check.
You should not.
Guys, I think you're
be
missing the bigger point here. Lisa Durden and I just agreed on 2 issues in a
damn.
row.
It's a miracle.
That's the bigger point.
Mark
here.
this day down.
All right.